so this part of the process, we have already used the keg of the cold brew, and now we need to clean the kegs so they're ready for the next batch. I've already taken the stems out of these, so just so you can see it with one of them, there's usually a little bit of tape that's left. Go ahead and take the tape off, throw it away. We have a tool that we need to use to loosen the tops, loosen the stems. You probably already used this when you were kegging some. And now we need to take it off. Sometimes it's really tight, so you want to grip it with your feet at the bottom. You may need to hit it a few times to start loosening it. And then you should be able to loosen it. There might be some pressurization and gas in there. So if you hear it starting to whisper out, like go ahead and let it, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to loosen it all the way and then it pops up at you. It's not really dangerous, but you're just going to want to keep your hand on top of the ratchet so that way it does not do that. Keeping pressure pushing down just to make sure. Most of the time they've already been degassed, but sometimes there's a little bit of pressure left. So go ahead and knock any of the liquid off, and we're going to put it in the sink with the rest of them. And then I'll go ahead and show you how I do the rest. But this whole process, you're probably going to want some gloves. You're going to want a container for the stems to be able to clean them easily. You're going to want the smaller brush to clean the stems, the bigger brush to clean the big kegs. You're going to need both the sanitizer fluids, the clearly cold and the complete care. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and put some gloves on for the rest of the process. With the stems, you're going to have to rinse them off first, and then you'll wash them typically with just a little bit of dish soap. I'm not really worried about having to go through the hefty process with the other solutions. So let's go ahead and turn on some water and rinse these off. Make sure you get the inside of the stem and the inside of the top taken care of. If it's got it caked up on there, on the top, because maybe some cold brew spilled over on it or something, just make sure you take a little bit of extra time to rinse that top part. Okay, now I'm going to get that bucket, fill up some with water, put a little bit of soap in it. Not going to need too much. And I usually just put the tops in, because this doesn't fit it all the way. So now I'm going to go ahead and just wipe down the outsides, wrap this sponge around, get the outside of the stem, get the outside of the top, and then you might want to use the tougher side of the sponge to get the inner top part here. Just make sure you scrub in there, get anything that's in there out of there. Then we're going to set it aside because we're going to need to get the soapy water poured into the stem, and then we're going to use the bristle brush to clean the inside of that. So we got that part done. Grab the bristle brush, the smaller one. Get it covered in that. So now you're going to want to do this probably one at a time here. It's a little weird, but you can stand it up. You can try to pour some in there. Alright, so that's already full. Then grab the brush and then just push it all the way down in. And you can start to turn the stem while you're kind of agitating it on the way up. Okay. Go ahead and set it in the next sink over so that way you know that it's done. And then just keep doing that until you do all 5 of them. Go ahead and rinse off your bristle brush when you're done with that. You're not going to need it for the other parts of the process. Set it aside. And then go ahead and rinse out your bucket that you just used to clean it. Put that to the side. Now we're going to go ahead and rinse off everything on the stem. Rinse off the outside, rinse off the inside. You may need to dump out a couple rounds of the inside to make sure it's not all soapy and sudsy in there. So you'll just keep doing this. And you can set it back in that Tupperware or that bucket that you used until you're done with all of them. Now that the stems are all clean and they're set to the side, now comes the fun part of actually cleaning the kegs. This is a little bit more intensive because of the amount of weight you're going to be lifting and moving because of the amount of gallons of water and everything. I typically do this in a batch of 5. I try to do that because when we do the 2 large vats, we fill up 5 kegs, so why not do them in batches of 5? Typically use 3 in one side and 2 in the other. So I'm just going to show you my process on that. So first, you're going to take one of the kegs and empty anything that's inside. Any leftover cold brew, you're going to want to let that drain out. Okay, we'll put some of that down. And then we're going to fill up maybe a gallon of water in that. I'm going to go ahead and dump another one in this side while it's doing that. Or I'm going to go ahead and dump 2 in there because that was not very much in that one. Not much in that one either, so why not go for 3? Alright. Now that I have probably a gallon's worth in there, I'm just going to shake it a bit. Oops. Not slam it on the thing, but just shake it, just to rinse it out. Rub it out. And one thing I would recommend, here, let me try to show you over here, is notice how I have it covering half of the opening, the draining hole in the sink. And the reason for that is because if you leave it like this, there's not much of a gap for the liquid to get out. So you're going to want to leave it like half over that, so that way you can also have another one kind of sitting over the opening of the sink. So that's why I do it like that. That one was fully rinsed. The rest have not been. They've only been dumped so far. So let's go ahead and get another one to rinse. And while it's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and get the last one to dump out. Alright. That should be enough water, honestly. Let's go ahead and shake it. Rinse it out. And then let's flip this one over so we can start filling this one up. Just a little bit. Now I can just rotate them. So now that we got all 5 of them rinsed, dump them, rinse them, and now we can fill it with about 4 gallons of water. And then we're going to put in 30 milliliters of Philly Bowl. All right, so let's go ahead and start filling this up. And then while I'm waiting, go ahead and get the 30 milliliters ready. Again, this is one of those squeeze bottles with measurements right up here. So I'm going to try to squeeze it and fill it up to the 30 milliliters. And 4 gallons should be about 80% full on the keg. Okay, so I got about 30 milliliters in there. I'm going to wait until it's full enough, and then once it's full enough, I'll go ahead and dump it in. Because I don't want to dump it in before the water's in there because it'll agitate it too much and create way too many suds. I want to put it in afterwards. About 80% full. I'm going to go ahead and put in the next one. Dump that 30 milliliters into the first one. And then we're supposed to let it sit for 5 minutes with the clearly cold in there. So I'm going to go ahead and put enough water and clearly cold in all 5 of them, and I'll skip on to the next part. So I already filled up these 3 with water and clearly cold. It's part of the 5-minute process. But while I'm waiting for this one to fill, I'm going to go ahead and get this brush and start cleaning the inside of the keg. And the way I do that is I'm trying to push against the wall towards me, up and down, and I'm going to start slowly turning the keg so that I'm cleaning all of the inner walls as I'm spinning it around. Just making sure it gets any residue off of those inner walls. And once I get all of that, I'm going to try to scrub the bottom, all of the bottom layer of the keg. And then I'm going to pull it up some and try to get this top layer up near the opening. Okay. And as I'm pulling it out, leave part of the brush in. I'm just going to give it a nice spin all the way around, just to make sure I'm getting the threading up here clean as well. And I'm just going to keep doing that on the other ones. And in the process, this is being filled. So I'm trying to be efficient with my time by doing a couple things at the same time here. Let's get this one filled up. Because now this one can get the clearly cold, that one's filling up, I can be scrubbing this one. And so just keep trying to be efficient with your time. And it should take probably about 45 minutes to an hour for you to clean 5 kegs. Alright, so after you went ahead and filled all of them with the clearly cold, you scrubbed them inside and out, and it's for sure been at least 5 minutes with everything sitting in there, which it should have been at this point. Go ahead and rinse off the brush so that you can set it to the side. That way it's not full of whatever you're using. Okay? And I would recommend starting from the first keg to the last that you were doing to go ahead and start emptying them out. Because we're going to have to empty them and then we're going to have to rinse them, similar to what we were doing with the first part of the process, empty and rinse. You just need like a gallon in there, shake it all around, rinse it out again, or dump it out. So we're going to go ahead and do that. This is the hard part because it is already full of like 4 gallons or so of water. Just go ahead and start dumping it out. Make sure it's over one of the openings. Oh, and I figured out about the sink why it was not causing me a problem. There's a little valve at the bottom that you can twist, and it opened it right up. So that was my problem with the sink. Alright, so it's empty. Put in about a gallon's worth of water. Now that you've got probably about a gallon's worth, shake the crap out of it. We're trying to rinse all the inside walls and everything. Now with the ones that have been rinsed, we're going to have to fill them up with another 4 gallons of water. No, there's been a lot of water usage in this. Alright, so now you're going to want to get that complete care. Measure out 30 milliliters. And that's in the one that's already filled up with the water. That one I'm just getting ready to rinse. And pour it in. And the complete care is the sanitizer. It's supposed to, according to the directions, be in there for at least 1 minute, if you can be that patient. And then after that, you'll dump it out. And it's supposed to air dry. If there are a lot of suds after dumping it out, and there's suds like kind of around the rim and the opening, I would say go ahead and give it a small rinse with the spray nozzle, just a little rinse, dump it out until there's not so many suds. There shouldn't be suds really when you let it dry, but once that part's done and you dump out as much as you can, we're going to be setting them down underneath the cold brew vats into the clean keg area. So this part is just going to be emptying out the sanitizer solution and storing it away. The emptying part is pretty straightforward, right? Dump it out through the sink. But I wanted to show you, in case there were some soap suds, how to get rid of it. Now these 3 have been sitting for like a minute. This is the last one that needs to fill, just because it takes a while to fill up the water with the 4 gallons. So I got my complete care ready to go with the 30 milliliters measured out. Just waiting for that one to fill up. But might as well show you while I'm doing that. Again, efficiency. So there's some suds on there, right? You want to get rid of the suds if you can. So we're gonna give it just a little bit of a rinse and see if that can get rid of all of those problems. And notice I was a little bit gentler pouring at that time too. Alright, suds are gone. So now we're going to store it over in the cold brew, the clean cold brew keg area. So I'm going to say this is a first in, first out situation. So if you have clean kegs that were already down here, you pull them out and you put the cleanest one, which I just got over here, all the way to the back. And the biggest reason for that is to let them dry, because it does take a little while for them to dry all the way with how the sanitizer was pulled out of them and everything. I would probably even say more than a day, realistically. You can use it, it's safe, like food safe. You can fill it up if it's not fully dry the next time, but I mean, it's just preference based to have it fully dry. So you'll put all the fresh ones furthest back, and then the older ones, the ones that were already dry, up in front of them. And of course, once you're done with everything, let's put it back in their homes. You've got the ratchet tool, you got the scrub brush, you got the smaller bristle brush. You need to put that out of the way. So just kind of twist it a little bit so it fits in there. You've got the clearly cold and complete care. So that needs to go home. That goes in there. And then the stems, you go over here. And go ahead and grab one of those towels and place it over the openings. Like so. So that's pretty much everything. And then once all the kegs are clean, just make sure they're put fully away. I'm waiting for the rest to be dumped, and I'll do that, and we're good to go.